Hey photographers, it's Ray here with another quick photo tip. Today we're going to talk about what you see is what you get through your viewfinder. So with most mirrorless cameras, by default they come with the settings turned on that allow you to see your exposure live in the viewfinder. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So if we photograph our subject over here, you can see I can lighten my exposure, slowing my shutter speed down, and the image brightens in the viewfinder, and I can increase my exposure to darken it, and then it goes dark. This is usually exactly what you want, so that way you can see your exposure live. So it makes it a lot easier to not mess up and make sure you nail that exposure exactly the way you want in camera. Perfect, right? But what about the times when that's not what you want? There's a few times when I'm shooting, usually in extreme backlit conditions, and I've set up just a little version of that here. We're trying to not overexpose that background there. So you can see I got my exposure set, so my green bokeh back there in the background is looking really nice and rich, but my subject is a little dark and it's maybe kind of hard to see what's happening there. So if I press a pre-programmed button on my camera that I've set up, it turns off that exposure matching, and you can see what happened there. All of a sudden my image is bright and I can see my subject very clearly and I can take the shot, but it's still exposing just like this. So watch, let's change that more extreme. We'll set the exposure really dark. Obviously this is way too dark, but I can have my exposure set like this manually, press that button, and then I'm back to seeing my subject and I can see what's happening and shoot no problem. Meanwhile, exposing really dark like this. So when is that handy? Well, especially shooting into like bright sunlight, shooting into direct sun. A lot of the times for me, it's like on open water, on the beach, shooting shorebirds and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at a real world example where I was photographing shorebirds and I wanted to keep a proper exposure on the bright sunlit spots, but I couldn't really see my bird with that. Here I can barely see my bird. I have a really high shutter speed, a lot of backlit glow, but when I change the setting, all of a sudden, you can magically see the subject just like that. The exposure is still the same, that shutter speed hasn't changed. So there you go. Now you can see there are times when you want to turn off that exposure matching. So in the Nikon Z9 that I'm shooting, if you hop into the menu, it's in the custom settings, the shooting display, and you go all the way down to D10 view mode, and there's where you switch it. Show effects of settings, which means it matches the exposure you're setting, or adjust for ease of viewing, which means it ignores how your exposure is set and shows you a clear, bright view no matter what. So you can switch back and forth. I've set up my display button on the back of the camera to be that toggle. And so hopefully on your camera system, you can set up a pre-programmed button and pop that on and off as needed. That's my tip for today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys for the next one.